You ever notice how the smallest creatures sometimes become our biggest heroes? What I'm about to share will completely reshape how you see loyalty, love, and sacrifice. This isn't just another feel-good animal story. This is about a family torn apart by pride, a child who knew what adults couldn't see, and one faithful companion who paid the ultimate price for love. Stay with me. Because by the end of this, you might see your own life differently. Picture this. Outside, nature's throwing a tantrum, wind screaming, rain attacking the windows like it's trying to break in. But inside this worn-down house, there's a scene that's become all too familiar. A tiny 3-year-old boy named Ethan, wearing those soft gray pajamas that bunch up at his wrists, is wrapped around a German shepherd like his entire existence depends on it. His father, Daniel, stands there watching, frustration etched across his face. Ethan, come on, buddy. You're going to hurt him. Get off. His voice has that sharp edge to it, the kind that comes from weeks, maybe months, of the same battle every single night. But here's the thing about kids at that age. They don't operate on logic. They operate on instinct, and Ethan's instinct right now is screaming at him to hold tighter. So that's exactly what he does. His small face burrows deeper into that thick fur. His arms, those impossibly tiny arms, squeeze harder around the dog's neck. The dog's name is Buddy. And if you're wondering whether he minds this suffocating embrace, let me paint you the picture. His tail is doing this lazy thump against the couch cushions. His eyes are half closed, peaceful, like he's exactly where he belongs. Like this little human barnacle attached to him is the most natural thing in the world. Now, from the kitchen doorway, Laura appears. She's Ethan's mother, and you can see in her eyes that she's exhausted, not just physically tired. Soul tired. The kind of exhaustion that comes from being caught in the middle. Yelling isn't going to fix this. She says quietly, the harder you push him, the tighter he's going to hold on. Daniel spins toward her, and now we're getting to the real problem. He should be sleeping in his own bed, Laura. Not attached to that animal like some kind of security blanket. Notice how he says that animal. Not Buddy. Not the dog. That animal. There's distance in those words. Resentment? Maybe? Laura's response cuts right to the bone. Maybe his bed feels too empty. Maybe without Buddy there, it feels too empty without me there too. Ouch. Daniel doesn't respond to that one. Can't respond, really. Because what's he going to say? The room around them tells its own story. Toy trucks scattered across the floor. Unopened bills stacked on the side table. The chaos of a family barely holding it together. But all Daniel can focus on is his son. Clinging to that dog like Buddy's the only solid thing in a shaking world. Laura tries a different approach. Her voice goes soft, gentle. Bedtime, sweetie? Come on. Ethan's response is muffled against the fur, but they can make it out. No. Buddy, too. And there it is. The line in the sand. Ethan's not going anywhere without his best friend. Daniel's jaw clenches. You can almost hear his teeth grinding. You're spoiling him, Laura! He needs his parents. He needs us! Not a dog. The words hang in the air like smoke. Heavy. Toxic. Laura's eyes fill up, not with anger. With hurt. With the pain of someone who's been carrying a weight nobody else can see. That dog is the only reason our son sleeps at all. You think I enjoy watching him cling like that every night? You think it doesn't break my heart too? Silence. The kind of silence that's louder than any argument. Daniel turns away, muttering under his breath. But they all hear it. You're not his parent, Buddy. You're not supposed to be. Buddy, for his part, just licks Ethan's forehead. Steady. Unmoved. Doing exactly what he's been doing all along, holding his ground. Now, let me pause here for a second. Because this is happening in countless homes. Maybe not with a dog. Maybe it's a stuffed animal. A blanket. A nightlight. But the core issue is the same. Pride. Control. The desperate need for things to be the way we think they should be, instead of accepting what they are. Daniel isn't a villain in this story. He's a father who feels replaced, who looks at his son's love for this dog and sees his own failure reflected back at him. If Ethan needs Buddy this much, what does that say about Dad? But here's what Daniel can't see yet. What none of us can see when we're standing too close to the problem. Sometimes the help we need doesn't come in the package we expect. Sometimes love doesn't look like what we planned. He walked by. Just a brief connection to a creature who'd saved her family, who'd known what they needed before they knew it themselves. The house itself became different. They fixed that heater, obviously. Replaced it entirely, but more than that, the atmosphere changed. The arguments stopped, not because problems disappeared, but because they'd learned what really mattered. They'd learned the difference between pride and love, between control and trust. Weeks go by. The same routine, the same arguments. The same scene playing out like a broken record. Ethan clings. Daniel pushes. Laura mediates. Buddy stays constant. Night after night after night. The tension in that house builds like pressure in a sealed container. Something's gotta give, and then comes the storm. Not the little one from the beginning. This is different. This is the kind of storm that makes the weather service send out warnings. The kind that makes you check your flashlights and fill your bathtubs with water just in case. Rain doesn't just fall. It attacks, hammering against the windows like fists. The wind doesn't blow. It howls, actually howls, finding every crack in the siding, every weakness in the structure, exploiting Italiano. Inside the house, Daniel lies awake. You know that feeling when something's wrong but you can't quite put your finger on it? That's where he is. Then he realizes what's bothering him. Silence. Too much silence. His eyes snap open. His heart starts racing before his brain even catches up to why. He throws off the covers and rushes to the living room. At first glance, everything looks normal. Looks like every other night. Ethan and Buddy tangled together on the couch. The boy's arms wrapped around the dog's neck. Buddy's muzzle pressed against Ethan's temple. But something's off. They're too still. Too quiet. Eben, in sleep, Eshubi, movement. The rise and fall of breathing. The tiny adjustments bodies make through the night. There's none of that. Ethan. Daniel's voice cracks when he says it. The word comes out broken, desperate. No response. He moves closer, and that's when he sees it. Ethan's lips have this pale, almost blue tint to them. Buddy's chest, that massive chest that should be rising and falling with each breath, is motionless. Laura. He doesn't just call her name. He screams Italiano. The kind of scream that tears something in your throat. The kind that brings your wife running so fast, she almost trips on the stairs. She bursts into the room, takes one look, and her scream joins his. Together they rush to their son, shaking him, calling his name, trying everything to wake him up. But Ethan's hands stay locked in Buddy's fur. His fingers are literally tangled in it, like they've been welded there by some force they can't understand. Daniel pulls his son close. His voice breaks into pieces. I wish I could, Buddy. I really, truly wish I could. They hold each other and cry. For the friend who gave everything. For the hero who never asked for recognition. For love so pure it was willing to die so someone else could live. Now, let me tell you what happened after. Because this story doesn't end at the hospital. Stories like this never do. They ripple outward, changing everything they touch. Ethan recovered physically. The doctor said it was a miracle how little damage there was. If he'd been exposed just a little bit longer, or if the concentration had been just a little bit higher, they would have been planning a funeral for a 3-year-old instead of a dog. But Buddy's body had acted as a living filter, a sacrifice made without hesitation, without question. The emotional recovery took longer, took years. Really, maybe it never fully completed. How do you recover from losing the one who saved your life? How do you move forward knowing that level of love existed and is gone? Ethan grew, taller, stronger, older. But there was always something in his eyes, a depth you don't usually see in kids. The kind of depth that comes from understanding, on a cellular level, what sacrifice looks like. He started drawing, constantly. His notebooks filled with sketches of dogs, German shepherds, specifically. Every angle, every expression, the details were meticulous. The ears, the eyes, the way fur falls. He was keeping Buddy alive the only way he knew how. Friends would ask him, "Why don't you get another dog? Your parents would probably let you know." And every single time, his answer was the same, Keaton certain, because my best friend already gave me his life. I only needed one. Think about that for a second. A child understanding something so profound that most adults never grasp. That some bonds can't be replaced. That some gifts are so precious, you don't ask for them twice. Daniel changed too. The resentment, the pride, all of that burned away in the fire of loss. He became softer, more present. He'd read to Ethan every night, and sometimes his voice would catch on certain words. Love, brave, friend. Because they all meant something different now. He had a small memorial built in their backyard. Nothing fancy. A stone with Buddy's name and a simple inscription. He gave everything. Sometimes Daniel would sit out there alone, talking to a dog who couldn't hear him anymore, saying all the things he should have said when there was still time. Laura kept one of Buddy's collars. It hung on the wall in their bedroom. Sometimes she'd touch it as years passed. Ethan grew into a teenager, then a young man. Still drawing dogs. Still carrying that quiet depth. People were drawn to him. Teachers, coaches, other kids. There was something about him. A kindness, a maturity, like he'd learned secrets about life that others were still searching for. When he was 16, something happened. He was volunteering at a local animal shelter, because of course he was. And there was this dog, a German shepherd, older, kinda broken. He'd been abused, neglected. Nobody wanted him. Too damaged, too much work. Ethan sat with his dog for hours. Just sitting, not pushing, not demanding, just being present. And slowly, so slowly, the dog started to trust, started to lean into him, started to remember that not all humans hurt. The shelter director pulled Ethan aside. "I've never seen anything like that. That dog hasn't let anyone near him in months. What's your secret?" Ethan shrugged, uncomfortable with the attention. "No secret. I just remembered that love doesn't give up, even when it costs everything." He adopted that dog, named him Hero, not as a replacement for Buddy, as a tribute, as a way of saying that the cycle continues, that sacrifice breeds more love, which breeds more sacrifice, which breeds more love. On and on, Daniel cried when Ethan brought Hero home. Not sad tears, proud tears, grateful tears, because he watched his son show a damaged creature the same unconditional acceptance that Buddy had shown him. The circle was completing itself. Now, here's what I want you to understand. This story isn't just about a dog saving a boy from carbon monoxide poisoning. It's bigger than that. It's about how we often see the blessings right in front of us until they've re-gone. It's about how pride blinds us to love. It's about how the smallest acts, repeated daily, can be the difference between life and death. Daniel spent weeks resenting Buddy for taking his place, never seeing that Buddy wasn't taking anything. It was giving, constantly giving. His warmth, his comfort, his presence, and ultimately, his life. How many times do we do this in our own lives? Push away the help we need because it doesn't look the way we expected. Resent the blessings because they challenge our pride. Miss the miracles because we're too busy being angry about the method. Buddy never asked for recognition, never demanded appreciation. Just loved purely, completely, the way only dogs can love. The way only the very best of us can love, without condition, without expectation, without limit. And when the moment came, when the choice was between his life and Ethan's, there was no choice. There was never going to be a choice. Love doesn't calculate odds. Love doesn't weigh options. Lau Hust X. Think about the people in your life who've been your buddy. The ones who stood between you and the poison. The ones who absorbed the blows meant for you. The ones who gave quietly, constantly, without making noise about it. Did you see them? Did you thank them? Or were you too busy resenting them for not being what you thought you needed? This story spread far beyond one family. When Daniel finally told it, when he stopped being ashamed of his blindness and shared what really happened, it touched millions. And not because it's unique, because it's universal. We've all been Daniel at some point. We've all been so caught up in our own pride, our own plans, our own ideas of how things should be, that we missed what was actually happening. The comments poured in, thousands of them. People sharing their own stories of almost losing what mattered most. Realizing too late who the real heroes were, of dogs and cats, and people in moments where love showed up in unexpected ways, and they almost missed it. One woman wrote about her elderly mother who moved in after a stroke, how she resented the intrusion, the loss of privacy, the way her life changed, until her mother caught a gas leak the woman hadn't smelled, saved the whole family, and died. 6 months later, a man wrote about his brother-in-law who annoyed him constantly, always showing up, always offering help, always around, until the day the man's business collapsed and that annoying brother-in-law was the only one who stood by him, who loaned him money, who believed in him, who'd been preparing for that moment without even knowing it. Story after story, pattern after pattern. Love disguised as inconvenience, blessings disguised as burdens, heroes disguised as ordinary. Ethan, now an adult, sometimes speaks at schools, tells his story, shows his drawings, and he always ends the same way. Don't wait for a tragedy to see the love around you. Don't wait until someone's gone to appreciate what they gave. Pay attention, right now. Today, to who's standing between you and the poison. Thank them while you can. Simple advice, but profound. Because how many of us are actually doing it? How many of us are walking through life, blind to our buddies, pushing away the very things that are saving us? The German Shepherd breed gained popularity after this story spread. Shelters reported increases in adoption inquiries, but Ethan always cautioned people. Don't get a German Shepherd because of my story. Don't get any dog because of someone else's story. But if you do get one, if you invite that creature into your life, see them. Really see them. Honor the gift of their presence while they're here. Daniel keeps a photo on his desk. It's slightly blurry, taken on someone's old phone. Ethan at 3 years old, wrapped around Buddy, both of them peaceful. Everyone who sees it comments on how sweet it is. And Daniel nods. Sweet doesn't begin to cover it, he says. That's a photo of someone choosing death so someone else could have life. That's what love looks like when it's not dressed up in poetry. On the anniversary of that night, the whole family, now including hero and eventually grandchildren, gathers at the memorial stone. They don't make it morbid. They celebrate, share stories, laugh about Ethan's stubborn clinging, about Buddy's patient tolerance, about all the ordinary moments that made up an extraordinary bond. Because that's the other lesson here. It wasn't one big moment that mattered. It was all the small ones. Every night Ethan held on. Every night Buddy stayed. Every drop of poison filtered through loyalty and love. The big sacrifice was just the culmination of 1,000 tiny sacrifices. The visible proof of what had been happening all along. Your life is full of those tiny sacrifices. People doing small things, daily things, unremarkable things that add up to your survival. Your sanity. Your joy. The parent who calls every week. The friend who checks in. The coworker who covers for you. The partner who does the dishes without being asked. The neighbor who brings in your trash cans. None of it is dramatic. None of it looks like Buddy lying on that stretcher, but it's the same principle. Small deaths of ego, small sacrifices of convenience, small choices to put someone else first, over and over and over, until the small things build into something that can withstand storms. What if we treated those small sacrifices with the reverence they deserve? What if we recognized them as the daily miracles they are? What if we stopped waiting for crises to reveal value? Ethan teaches his own children now. 2 daughters and a son. Hero is old now. Grandma's old, moving slower, but still patient when the kids climb on him. Still present, still giving, carrying on Buddy's legacy in his own way. The youngest, a 4-year-old girl named Lily, asked her dad recently, "Did your dog go to heaven?" Ethan picked her up, held her close. "I don't know about heaven, baby, but I know he's everywhere that love is, and that means he's right here." She thought about that, then nodded, satisfied. "Can I draw him?" "I'd like that," Ethan said. And together they sat, father and daughter, drawing the outline of a German shepherd who none of the grandchildren would ever meet, but all of them know. Because stories like this don't die, they multiply. They grow. They teach. So here we are. At the end of this story, that's not really an ending at all, because the ripples keep spreading. Every person who hears it and looks at their own life differently. Every dog adopted from a shelter in Buddy's honor. Every child who learns that heroism isn't loud. Every parent who learns that sometimes you're not the hero. Sometimes your job is just to witness the heroism and be grateful. If this story touched something in you, and I believe it did because you're still here, then do something with it. Don't just feel moved and scroll on. Look around your life. Find your buddy. The one who's been filtering poison. The one who's been standing between you and harm. The one you might have been taken for granted or, worse, resenting. Tell them. Today, not when it's too late. Not at their memorial. No, while they can hear you. While it matters, while you can do something about it. Drop a comment. Tell me who your buddy is. Tell me who's been saving you in ways you're only now realizing. Share this story with someone who needs to hear it. Someone who's been blind like Daniel was. Someone who's been faithful like Buddy was. Someone who's been holding on like Ethan was. Because that's how love works. It spreads. One story. One moment of recognition. One expression of gratitude. Rippling outward. Changing everything it touches. Creating more love. More sacrifice. More heroism. The cycle continues as long as we keep it going. Subscribe if you want more stories like this. Stories that don't just entertain but transform. That don't just pass the time but redeem it. Hit that like button. Share it with someone who needs a reminder about what really matters. And remember, your buddy is out there right now. Filtering poison. Standing guard. Loving without condition. See them. Thank them. Honor them before it's too late. Before you re-standing over a white sheet wishing you'd said the words when they could still hear them. Because in the end, that's all that matters. Not the arguments, not the pride, not the plans, just love, recognizing it, receiving it, returning it. While there's still time, that's the story. That's the lesson. That's everything. Now go. Look around, find your buddy, and don't wait another second to let them know they're seen. They're valued, they're loved. Because tomorrow isn't promised, but today is here, and someone is filtering poison for you right now. The only question is whether you're going to notice before it's too late.